Hello everyone and welcome to Sally and Bytes. Today, I am here to teach Interface Python with SQL, Part 2, Creating a Database, Understanding the Python-MySQL Database Connection Program, Implementing DDL commands using Python Shell, Implementing DML commands using Python Shell with practical implementation. For the class 12 students of computer science. So, let's dive in and get started. In the previous video, we learned how to establish connection using MySQL connector. Once the connection gets established, the next step is to create the new database in MySQL through Python. Let the new database be Academy. Before creating this database, Academy, let's check if this database already exists or not. Come on. What's the command? Now, look at the blue box. In the MySQL prompt, we type the command, show databases semicolon. Press Enter key. What can you see? Look at the yellow box. No database named Academy exists. So, let's now create a database named Academy. To create a new database Academy, in MySQL through Python. The command is, create database_name. So now, we open the Python IDLE script mode, select New File and type the Python code. Now look at the first line. In the first line, we type import mysql.connector. This line imports the mysql.connector module, which provides Python programs with the ability to connect to and manipulate MySQL databases. In the second line, we type conn equals mysql.connector.connect, host equals localhost, user equals root, password equals Nishant. This line establishes a connection to the MySQL database. It specifies the host, localhost in this case, meaning the database is running on the same machine, the username, root, and the password, Nishant. This connection object, conn, will be used to execute SQL queries and perform other database operations. Here watch out the spelling of password, PASSWD, and the password will differ according to your password being set during the MySQL installation process. Now, let's see the third line, myCursor equals conn.cursor function. This line creates a cursor object, myCursor, using the connection object conn. A cursor is a control structure that allows you to traverse and manipulate the records in the database. It is used to execute SQL queries and fetch data from the result sets. Now, carefully look at the last line, myCursor.execute, open brackets, create database Academy, in double quotes, close brackets. This line executes an SQL query to create a new database named Academy. The execute method of the cursor object is used to execute SQL statements. In this case, the SQL statement is create database Academy, which instructs MySQL to create a new database with the name Academy. Now save and run the file. If no errors are found, the database Academy has been successfully created. Now, let's check the creation of database Academy by typing show databases command in MySQL prompt. Let's open MySQL. Look at the blue box. In the MySQL prompt, type the statement, show databases semicolon. Now press Enter key. Now look at the yellow box. Yes, the database Academy exists. Let's try to understand the Python MySQL database connection program. First one is the import mysql.connector. This line imports the mysql.connector module, which provides Python programs with the ability to connect to and manipulate MySQL databases. If the connection fails, import error is displayed. MySQL.connector import error indicates that there's an issue importing the MySQL connector Python module. MySQL.connector error object is used to show us an error when we fail to connect databases or if any other database error occurs while working with the database. For example, when username or password is wrong, access_denied_error occurs. Let's see this practically. Here we have typed the username wrong. Instead of root, it's typed as rot. When pressed Enter key, you can see the error message below. This is the specific error message returned by the MySQL server. It states that the user rot is being denied access from the host localhost using the provided password. Next is mysql.connector.connect function. In Python, the mysql.connector.connect function is used to establish a connection to a MySQL database. This function is part of the MySQL connector Python package, which provides an interface for connecting to and interacting with MySQL databases from Python. This function accepts 4 required parameters: host, user, password, and database, which we have already discussed in the previous video. Next is the connect function. The connect method is used to establish a connection to the MySQL database from Python application and returns a MySQL connection object. Then we can use MySQL connection object to perform various operations on the MySQL database. Connect function can throw an exception. That is, database error. If one of the required parameters is wrong, for example, if you provide a database name that is not present in MySQL, then Python application throws an exception. So, check for the arguments that you are passing in this function. Next one is conn.is_connected function. The conn.is_connected method is used to check if our Python application is connected to the database server or not. It returns true if the connection is currently active, meaning it's established and can be used to interact with the database server. If the connection is not active, it returns false. Checking if connection is active using conn.is_connected function. First open Python IDLE shell. Then click File menu and then click New File. You will enter into a new window. Here we can type the Python commands or statements. Checking if connection is active using conn.is_connected function. Now we have typed the statements in the Python shell. Let's see one by one in detail. In the first line, we are importing the mysql.connector module, which is necessary for connecting to and interacting with a MySQL database from Python. In the next line, we are establishing a connection to the MySQL database using the mysql.connector.connect method. We provide the required parameters such as host, user, password, to connect to the MySQL server. Next we are checking if the connection is active or not with conn.is_connection function inside the if and else condition. Now we have to save this Python file to run or execute. In the File menu, click Save As, and we save this Python program file named as demo1.py. Then press the Save button. Now, this file is saved as demo1.py. Now, we are going to run or execute the program. Here click Run on the menu bar. Now, click the Run module in Run menu. What can you see here? Yes. We get the message connection is active in a new screen. Once connection is active, we can start executing SQL queries. Let's learn the next function, connection.cursor function. Connection.cursor is a method used to create a cursor object. A cursor is a database object that allows you to interact with the database by executing SQL queries and fetching results. We need to create the object of a class called cursor that allows Python code to execute database commands in a database session. Cursor objects interact with the MySQL server using a MySQL connection object. Next function is cursor function.execute function. The execute method associated with a cursor object is used to execute SQL queries against the connected database. A cursor in SQL and databases is a control structure to traverse over the records in a database. so it is used for fetching the results. We get the cursor object by calling the cursor method of connection. An arbitrary number of cursors can be created. The cursor is used to traverse the records from the result set. Note: the execute method accepts arguments of SQL statements in string format that is enclosed in double quotes. Argument can be used in any one of the forms. Use SQL statements in triple quotes, along with semicolon, or use SQL statements without semicolon. We have verified creation of the Database Academy from SQL. Now, we are verifying creation of the Database Academy from Python. Let's take a new file and type the Python statements and save it. Let's see the statements one by one. In the first line, we type import mysql.connector. It imports the MySQL connector/Python library, allowing Python code to interact with MySQL databases. In the second line, conn equals mysql.connector.connect function establishes a connection to the MySQL database running on localhost with the username root and the password Nishant. The mysql.connector.connect function returns a connection object, conn, representing the connection to the database. In the third line, we type myCursor equals conn.cursor function, which creates a cursor object, myCursor, from the connection, conn. Cursors are used to execute SQL queries and iterate over the results. In the fourth line, we type myCursor.execute, show databases. This executes the SQL query show databases, which retrieves a list of all databases on the MySQL server. In the fifth line, we use the for loop statement. For x in myCursor : it iterates over the cursor myCursor, which fetches each row of the result set returned by the show databases query. That is for loop has been used to traverse among all the databases present inside MySQL using the cursor object myCursor. In the last line, we type print x. It prints each row of the result set, which represents a database name. So, this code demonstrates how to connect to a MySQL database, execute a query, and process the results using Python's mysql.connector library. Now, we save the file to execute it. Now, when we run this Python code, we get the output display of all the databases present in the MySQL in front of Python shell. The new Database Academy is also present here. Our next step is to create a table inside this Academy database through Python shell. Let's take a new file and type the Python statements to create a table. This is a Python script that utilizes the mysql.connector module to connect to a MySQL database and create a table named student within the Academy database. Look at line 1. We type the statement import mysql.connector. This imports the mysql.connector module, which provides the necessary functions and classes to interact with a MySQL database using Python. In line 2, it establishes a connection to the MySQL database. It specifies the host, in this case, localhost, username, root, password, Nishant, and the database name, Academy, to connect to. Adjust these parameters according to your MySQL server setup. In line 3, it creates a cursor object, myCursor, that allows you to execute SQL commands through the connection, conn. The cursor is a control structure that enables traversal over the records in a database. In line 4, it executes an SQL command to create a table named student within the Academy database. The table has 4 columns, roll number, an integer with a maximum length of 5 digits, specified as the primary key, name, a variable character string with a maximum length of 15 characters, age, an integer, and city, a character string with a fixed length of 15 characters. Now save this file. The file is saved, and when you run the file, you will get into this screen and no errors are displayed. This means the table candidate has been successfully created. Now open MySQL command prompt. Each time you enter into MySQL, you have to enter with your password. Now, look at the blue box. In the MySQL prompt we type use academy semicolon. This command selects the academy database for use, meaning that subsequent operations will be performed within this specific database. When pressed enter key, we get the message database changed. This message confirms that the database has been successfully changed to academy. Now, look at the yellow box. In the MySQL prompt, we type the statement desk candidate semicolon. This command is used to describe the structure of the candidate table within the academy database. It provides information about the columns, fields, in the table, including their names, data types, and any additional attributes such as whether they allow null values or if they are part of the primary key. When pressed enter key, look at the red box. The output shows the structure of the candidate table with 4 columns. Roll number. An integer type field, int, that does not allow null values, no, and it serves as the primary key, pri. Name. A variable character type field, varchar, with a maximum length of 15 characters, allowing null values, yes. Age. An integer type field, int, allowing null values, yes. City. A character type field, char, with a length of 15 characters, allowing null values, yes. This can also be done directly from Python shell. Come on, let's see how it works. Let's check if the created table candidate exists in MySQL using Python interface. Open the Python shell. Click File New File. Now we type the Python script. In the first line, import mysql.connector. This line imports the MySQL connector/Python module, which provides the necessary functions to interact with a MySQL database from within Python. In the second line, we establish a connection to the MySQL database server running on the local host with the specified credentials, username, root, password, nishant, and specifies the database to be used as academy. In the third line, a cursor object is created from the connection object. The cursor object allows executing SQL queries and fetching results. In the fourth line, we are executing the SQL query to show tables. The showTables SQL query is executed using the cursor object. This query retrieves a list of all tables present in the connected MySQL database. In the fifth line, we use a for loop. The code iterates over the result set returned by the execution of the showTables query. Finally, each iteration prints the name of a table found in the database. After typing the script, we save the file and run the file. When we run the file, we get into this screen. What can you see here? Yes, it displays all the tables present inside the database academy by using for loop for traversing all the tables present inside it, and hence the output can be seen here as candidate, as only one table is created inside the academy database. Similarly, we can implement any DDL, data definition language, commands in MySQL using Python. We will be discussing an important DDL command in SQL to modify the structure of the already created table, candidate using alter table command in Python script. We are going to add a new column marks in the candidate table. Let's open a new file in Python shell and type the Python script. The first 3 lines are the same as the previous Python code. So let's move on to the fourth line. Modifying the table with alter table query. The alter table SQL query is executed using the cursor object. This query modifies the candidate table by adding a new column named marks with a data type of integer, int, 3, specifies that the integer can have up to 3 digits. So, in this Python code, it establishes a connection to a MySQL database, executes an alter table query to modify the structure of the candidate table by adding a new column named marks, and then commits the changes to the database. Now save the file and run the file. Yes, no error is displayed, and the cursor is seen in front of Python shell starts blinking. It indicates that the structure of the table candidate has been successfully modified. This can be verified in MySQL by using desk candidate semicolon and also using Python shell. Let's see how it works. Let's open MySQL. Look at the yellow box. In the MySQL prompt, we type the statement desk candidate semicolon. This command is used to describe the structure of the candidate table within the Academy database. Now you can see the marks field included in the table candidate. To view the modified structure of candidate table using Python script, open a new Python file. Type the Python script. First 3 lines are repeated in all the Python code, and let's look at the 4th line. Executing the SQL query to describe table structure, the desk SQL command is executed using the cursor object. This command retrieves the structure of the candidate table, including the column names, data types, and any additional attributes. In the 5th line, we are using the for loop. The code iterates over the result set returned by the execution of the desk candidate query. Each iteration prints the information about a column in the candidate table, including its name, data type, whether it allows null values, etc. Now, let's save and run the file. Let's see how it works. The output is displayed on a new window or screen. What can you see here? Yes, we can see the structure of the table displayed in the form of tuple of strings. You can see the marks field also here on the last row, which we have modified recently. Our next step is to insert a record into the table candidate using insert into command through Python interface. After the table candidate has been successfully created and altered, we will add records to it using the popular SQL/DML, data manipulation language, command, insert into, using Python shell. Let's open a Python shell. The first 3 lines are repeated in every code. So let's see the 4th line. It executes an SQL insert statement using the execute method of the cursor. The insert statement inserts a new record into the candidate table. The values being inserted are 1, Daniel, 16, London, 95. For storing string data type values, all the string values should be enclosed in single quotes. In line 5, after executing the insert statement, commit the transaction using the commit method of the connection. This saves the changes to the database permanently. Finally, in line 6, print the number of rows affected by the insert operation using the row count attribute of the cursor. Let's save the file and run the file. Let's see what happens. When we run the file, we get into this screen. What can you see? Record inserted. Let's verify if this record has been inserted or not using select statement in MySQL. In the MySQL prompt, we type the statement select star from candidate semicolon. This command selects all columns from the candidate table in the current database context. It retrieves all records and columns from the candidate table. The output displays the retrieved data in a tabular format with the column names roll number, name, age, city, and marks. There's one row of data in the result set, with the following values: roll number, 1, name, Daniel, age, 16, city, London, marks, 95. The cursor.rowCount is the property of cursor object that is used in the given program and shall return the number of records inserted, which is 1 in our case, since we have inserted only one record into the candidate table. We can also insert multiple records into the table candidate using Python interface. Open a new file in Python shell. Type the Python script. The first 3 lines are the same as the previous program. So we go to line 4, 5, 6, 7. Inserting records. Multiple SQL insert statements are executed using the execute method of the cursor object. Each insert statement inserts a new record into the candidate table. Each insert statement specifies the values for each column in the candidate table. For example, insert into candidate values, 2, Emily 15, New York 86, inserts a record with candidate roll number 2, name Emily, age 15, city, New York, and score 86. Similarly, other records are inserted with different values. Now look at the last line. Committing changes. After executing all the insert statements, the commit method is called on the connection object, CONN, to commit the changes to the database. Now we save and run the file. Let's verify if these multiple record has been inserted or not using select statement in MySQL. In the MySQL prompt, type the statement, select star from candidate semicolon. When pressed Enter key, we can view 5 records with column names as roll number, name, age, city, and marks. Key points to remember. Insert and update operations are executed in the same way we execute select query using execute function. After executing insert or update query, we must commit our query using connection.object with commit function. For example, if our connection object name is CONN, we write conn.commit function. This statement is required to make changes in database permanently. Otherwise, no changes are made to the table. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe if you are new to my Sally and Bytes YouTube channel to stay updated with engaging content and never miss out on my latest videos. If you like this video, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up. Share this video with your friends and relatives. Watch the upcoming videos, Interface Python with SQL, Part 3. Methods to manage MySQL database transactions in Python, read operation, selection using where clause. You can check the link in the description box given below.